assistance that we would require to improve the College of Humanities and Legal Studies. We thank you and we wish you well also in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Ijapon. I'll invite the Provost of the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, Professor Professor Kuupole. Let's welcome her with a round of applause. Prof. Chair, kindly permit me to also stand on established protocol. I'm sure that the protocol is still strong to be used. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. For us from the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, somebody will think that we are out of place. But the man we are celebrating here is an all-round scholar. And we recall with fond memories the support he gives us as scientists. We acknowledge his contribution, especially to the establishment of our African Center of Excellence. He was moving with a number of us to ensure that we have this done and succeed within his term of office and beyond. And on an individual note, he would meet you and ask, are you publishing? He is so interested in everything we do as scientists, and as the university, and especially the Department of French, celebrate this fine scholar. We want to pray that God bless you richly and everything that concerns you. There's an author that says that if you fail to acknowledge, you seem to lose to celebrate. And then that thing becomes unimportant and will soon exit your life. As we have acknowledged our error and we are celebrating you today, we know that you will continue to excel in everything you do with us as a university, and especially as a College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. Your support for us will not wane. We truly wish you and your family and everything that concerns you well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Kuupole. I would invite the Dean for the Faculty of Arts, Professor Kwabena Safo Kantanka, to also give us a goodwill message. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chair, distinguished guests, Vice Chancellor, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here on behalf of the Faculty of Arts to say a big thank you to the Department of French and congratulate Professor Dabire Kuupole. In fact, the seat I sit on now, he was once there for about 6-8 years. And when I was a student, I used to go to him a lot. And so I know the person that we are talking about today. Prof, we thank you for all that you've done for us. If I sit on that seat today, you've been part of it. And I'm grateful to you. Our colleagues are grateful. He calls me my dean. I call him, Prof, there's something I wish to discuss with you. Should I come to the office? He says, I'm coming to your office. See, that is the kind of person, the humility that he has that we talk about today. Prof, thank you for how far you've brought us and how far you've come. And I'm also happy seeing your farm in your village, the contributions you've made there. Some of us who come from such villages, when we see these things, we get so much encouraged. And I thank you on behalf of your people for what you have done. I think that, and I believe that all of us who have seen this today would think about it and also try to do something for the people of our villages and where we have come from. Thank you for teaching us what it's good today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Kantanka. Forgive me if it turns out to be impromptu, but definitely I must call somebody. And so at this point, I would invite our former registrar, Mr. Onyame. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Let's welcome him, please, while he makes his way here.
Thank you very much, Akosua. But you see, I made a comment. I said, you see what Akosua has done. Because then she wants me to spill something I don't want to spill. Professor Kuupole will get to see something later. And there he will see some tributes or goodwill messages we have sent. But let me just say a very short one, that Professor Kuupole was my teacher. He became my boss. He's my senior brother. Still is my senior brother. And friend. You know, people have said many things. He's down to earth. I guess the other word for it is humility. Very much down to earth. Mingles with us as though we are colleagues who were born in the same time. I'm more than 10 years younger than him. And yet, he treats me like someone who was born either on the same day he was born or a day after him. And he touches lives. I have said that he's very interested in bringing people up, if not to his level, to even surpass him. That is the kind of man everyone will want to be with. And, you know, he loves you in a way that he does not tell you. I refer people to le roman de Saint-Exupéry. How do you call that one? Vol de nuit. Ouais. Où on dit, il faut les aimer sans leur le dire. You know, you love them without telling them. And that's the kind of man. And so, we are very happy to have been associated with him and continue to be associated with him because he's a man of the people. That word is it le mandat ou bien? Il y a un roman dont Chinua Achebe. Well, because he's a man of the people. And we are happy to be associated with you. We wish you the best on your 70th birthday and pray for long life, good health for you. Thank you very much. But there's something.
Thank you very much, sir. I love the code switching and code mixing that was going on while he was speaking. We'll take the very final goodwill message, and this is coming all the way from Nigeria. Prof, I understand that at a point you were a visiting lecturer to the University of Ilorin, and at this point, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin will give a few words. Let's welcome Professor Abdul Wahab Agbewale.
The chair of this opening ceremony, our other ancestors and former vice chancellors are present. I especially recognize the acting vice chancellor of UCC. I'm here in two capacities. One as the chair of Association of West African Universities, and of course, vice chancellor University of Ilorin. Professor Kuupole tremendously served these two institutions. And that was why I didn't tell him that I would be here personally. In fact, my colleague from French department that came also did not know that I would be here. Professor Kuupole played a very critical role in the Association of West African Universities. and still playing, because I recall in the last 6 or 8 weeks, he facilitated our meeting with the University Committee of Vice Chancellors in Ghana. And of course, as a visiting scholar in our university, he was also instrumental to a lot of developments, which culminated in 2 book projects within the span of his visiting at our university. He also strengthened the collaboration between this university and our university as a sitting vice chancellor. We are pleased to be here this morning, and we continue to wish him the best of health. We have a small presentation. Dr. Osani.
Thank you very much. Let's applaud the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin. We also have the Vice Chancellor of the University of UBIT here. I understand Professor Kuupole also serves on the council for UBIT. Sir, you're welcome. Let's welcome him with a round of applause, please. No, for a goodwill message. Let's welcome him, please.
Good morning, everyone. I think I was going for an easier option, but you people drew me up here. Yes. So let me also stand on the existing protocol to say that we at UBIT, we are very happy to be here. We describe ourselves as a rising star from the West. As you may be aware, Professor Kuupole serves on our council. And indeed, it has been a blessing to have him on our council. And that is the reason why we are here. We identify with what the Department of French is doing, and for that matter, the university. And that's why we are here to join you to celebrate one of the finest scholars that this country and I would say Africa has produced. I think that a lot has been said already about Professor D.D. Kuupole. But what strikes me in particular, as I observe the way he handles tasks, is the level of commitment and dedication and passion with which he handles tasks. It's amazing. And though he says he's on the 7th floor, I don't know exactly what that means, but you wonder where the energy is coming from. But I think it is a reminder that when there is commitment to a project, he gives it all that he has. And so we are very happy to be here and to join you to celebrate Professor Kuupole. He's come from an environment in which you would say we do not have possibilities, but he's demonstrated that we can achieve from humble context. So thank you very much. And on this note, to extend our heartfelt congratulations to Professor Kuupole. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all our speakers who have given the goodwill messages. We'll listen to our special guest of honor deliver his address, and permit me to introduce him briefly. He is a professor of coastal ecology and interdisciplinary ocean studies with a robust academic foundation that includes a PhD and MSc in environmental sciences and tropical aquatic ecology from the University of Bremen, coupled with an MSc in rural development from the Swedish Agricultural University. He stands as the authorized representative for significant donor-funded initiatives in marine, coastal, and fisheries management here at the University of Cape Coast. His scholarly contributions span numerous index journals addressing vital issues such as coastal ecosystem conservation and marine spatial planning. Additionally, he is committed to fostering international academic partnerships and holds advisory roles on national and international boards, including a key position as technical advisor to the World Bank's West Africa Coastal Area Management Program. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, the Acting Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Dennis Walonyo Aheto, our special guest of honor.
Thank you, Akusia. I think one thing you did not say, looking at the program, is that I wear two hats here. As a guest of honor and also a special guest of honor. I'm a special guest of honor because my boss, the Chancellor, has asked me to stand in for him and to read his speech, because he was to be here as a special guest of honor, but unfortunately is out of the country, and so is not here. But on the program, I'm expected to officially open the conference. And so in my capacity now as the guest of honor, I would like to start with that. Thank you very much. Distinguished Chairman and former Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Emmanuel Addo-Obeng, our distinguished celebrant, Professor Didi Kuupole, the main celebrant, my mentor, and many others who you also mentor, Professor Napong Abu, University of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, Professor Mauloy Kofi Koda, Head of Department of the French Department, University of Cape Coast, Professor Rosemond Boachiwa-Bohene, former Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Nelson Boa, former Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Kweku Educhum Boachi, Vice Chancellor of the Cape Coast Technical University, Professor Isaac Gallion, former Provost of the College of Distance Education, Professor Daniel Ejapon, Provost of the College of Humanities and Legal Studies, Professor Rafaela Kombe, Provost of the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, Professor Benoga Martin, University of Lomé, Village du Benin, Togo, Professor Ishak Oloyade, keynote speaker, and former Vice Chancellor of University of Ilorin and currently the Registrar of JAM, Nigeria, Professor Wahab Egbewole, VC, Unilorin, and Chairman of the Association of West African Universities, Mr. Jeff Tay Onyame, former Registrar of the University of Cape Coast, my own brother, Vice Chancellor of UBIS WA, Professor Emmanuel Debele, Professor Sarah Dakwa, Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, distinguished clergy, chiefs Nananom, distinguished members of the College of Professors, the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Professor Safo Kantanka, distinguished guests, colleagues, participants, the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On my own behalf, as the acting Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor of this university, it gives me a great pleasure to witness the commencement of this important international conference, which not only honors one of our most distinguished scholars and former Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, but also addresses a subject of immense significance to the future of our sub-region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the University of Cape Coast is very proud to host this important international gathering of scholars, researchers, policymakers, language professionals, and the development practitioners from across West Africa and beyond. We are indeed very confident that the deliberations over the next 3 days will enrich scholarly discourse, strengthen regional partnerships, and contribute meaningfully to ongoing efforts towards sustainable regional integration. I wish to, on my own behalf and on behalf of the university management, commend the Department of French, the Faculty of Arts, and the main organizing committee for their dedication and hard work in bringing this conference to fruition. It is now my singular honor and privilege in my capacity as the acting Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast to formally declare open the international conference in honor of Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole under the theme Coexistence of Languages in West Africa Towards Sustainable Regional Integration. Let's do it better for him. But before I close this segment of my speech, I would like to add a personal note to the effect that Professor Didi Kuupole has been a strong mentor, and without his contribution also to my personal career, I believe I will not be here today. There are many things I can say about him, but I reserve that for the dinner, when we have the dinner later in the week. But I have learned something which I would like to relate to our celebrant. Last Sunday was Father's Day, and I had the opportunity of listening to my father at a program to which he was invited to speak about fatherhood. And for the first time, I really understood the difference between success and greatness. I will say that Professor Kuupole is not just a successful man, but he's also a great man. Success, according to what I understood on Sunday, last Sunday, is a personal self-accomplishment. Greatness is the impact that comes as a result of the impact that you make on society. Even though the two are related, they are completely different. There are many professors who have made significant successes along their career path, but there are also those who have impacted society. And I can say that Professor Didi Kuupole, basing on my understanding of that definition, those definitions, without any iota of doubt that he is a great man. I think we should give him. And his greatness will come out in the speech I'm about to read on behalf of the Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. Akosi, I hope I'm permitted to. Professor Chair, may I continue? Thank you. So the chairman of the ceremony, I'm honored to deliver an address as the special guest of honor on behalf of Sir Dr. Sam E. Jonah, KBE OSG, Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, at this opening ceremony of the conference in honor of Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole, today, Wednesday, 24th June 2026. The chairman of the ceremony, the acting vice chancellor, members of the University Council and management, distinguished guests, invited scholars and participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mr. Chairman, it is both an honor and privilege to have been invited to serve as special guest of honor for this international conference organized in honor of a distinguished Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole. Unfortunately, circumstances beyond my control do not permit me to be present in person. I'm therefore grateful to the acting vice chancellor for kindly agreeing to deliver this address on my behalf. Permit me first to commend the Department of French, the Faculty of Arts, and the main organizing committee for conceiving and organizing this remarkable event. It is fitting that a scholar of Professor Kuupole's stature should be celebrated through an intellectual gathering dedicated to issues that have occupied much of his academic life and continue to shape the future of our sub-region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this conference, Coexistence of Languages in West Africa Towards Sustainable Regional Integration, could not be more timely. West Africa remains one of the most linguistically diverse regions of the world. Our languages embody histories, cultures, identities, and aspirations. Yet, they also present challenges that demand thoughtful policy responses if we are to deepen regional cooperation, enhance mobility, strengthen educational systems, and build inclusive societies. This conference therefore provides a valuable platform for scholars, policymakers, language professionals, and development practitioners to engage these issues and propose pathways towards a more integrated and prosperous West Africa. Distinguished Chairman, over the next 3 days, participants will engage in keynote and plenary discussions, parallel academic sessions, an exhibition, go through an exhibition of scholarly works of Professor Kuupole, and a policy forum dedicated to examining language as a catalyst for national development within the ECOWAS sub-region. These activities reflect the interdisciplinary and practical orientation of the conference and its commitment to generating knowledge that speaks to contemporary societal needs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we gather not only to discuss important ideas at this conference, but we also celebrate a life of scholarship, service, and leadership. Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole belongs to that distinguished generation of African scholars who have combined academic excellence with institutional leadership and public service. As a scholar of French language and didactics, he has influenced generations of students and researchers across Ghana and beyond. As an academic administrator and former vice chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, he provided visionary leadership that strengthened teaching, research, international partnership, and institutional development. Under his stewardship, we all attest to the fact that the university advanced significantly in infrastructure, governance, academic innovation, and stakeholder engagement. I thought we should be clapping to this. Let us do it better for him. Thank you. According to the Chancellor, he had the privilege of working closely with Professor Kuupole during his tenure as Vice Chancellor. What distinguished him most was not merely his intellectual ability, but his unwavering commitment to the welfare and advancement of the university. He was not just a leader, but one who consistently placed institutional interests above his personal considerations. A visionary who pursued progress with purpose. A unifier who nurtured an environment of harmony, collegiality, and mutual respect. His leadership demonstrated that academic excellence flourishes best when there is peace, trust, and shared purpose. Equally significant is Professor Kuupole's contribution to the promotion of multilingualism and intellectual understanding in West Africa. His collaboration with Professor Abu Napon and other scholars in establishing the Conference on the Coexistence of Languages in West Africa over 2 decades ago has helped create a lasting intellectual network that continues to enrich scholarship across the region. It is therefore particularly appropriate that this conference revisits and advances that important legacy. Distinguished Chairman, beyond the walls of academia, Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole's service to community, our nation, and continent reflects a life devoted to uplifting others. Among his many accomplishments during his tenure as Vice Chancellor were the significant academic and administrative reforms. Permit me to mention a few. The restructuring of the central administration leading to the upgrade into divisions under the Registrar's Office, into directorates, and appointment of directors. The implementation of the collegiate system. Some of the key decisions, policy, and reforms approved for implementation by the Governing Council included the consultancy policy, standing orders for meetings for the University Council, Council Board and committees, staff recognitions and rewards policy, staff's appraisal policy, collegiate system policy, postdoctoral policy, amendment of UCC Statutes 2016, just to mention a few of the policies we brought into place. Under his leadership, the university also witnessed major infrastructural developments, just to also mention some of them. The 3-story block of flats at Akotoche, the superannuation building complex, the UCC Broadcasting Services Center, and the SRC building. Today I also heard about the alumni building, which you also contributed to during that time. Not as a VC, but you supported. But correct me if I'm wrong when I come back down there. Yeah, Professor Kuupole is someone who is always correcting me from afar. Yes. But I cannot end here by mentioning that under his leadership as the Vice Chancellor, the university established the Center for Coastal Management, under which I became its first director. And that center growing into ISCOR, becoming the first center of excellence in the 60 years of the University of Cape Coast establishment. We want to say a big thank you to you. I wish to also go on some of his accomplishments. The UCC Catering Services, Kitchen and Restaurant. Notable improvements in the internally generated funds were achieved through the establishment of the UCC Enterprises Limited, UCC Detergent Unit, and the water bottling production unit. Yes. Today, as we honor Professor Kuupole through this conference, we also celebrate the values he represents: intellectual curiosity, humility, which has been mentioned by other speakers, discipline, service, and the enduring belief in the transformative power of education. On behalf of the University Council, the university community, management, and in my personal capacity, I wish to extend warm congratulations once again to you, Professor Kuupole, on this well-deserved recognition from the department. And I have taken the advice of Professor Obeng seriously. And I wish to say that I'm going to make a note to the governing council on this issue, for the university to also look at honoring him at a special occasion. I extend warm congratulations to Professor Kuupole on this well-deserved recognition and on this very important milestone of your 70th birthday. We thank God and we thank you for the many years of dedicated service to the University of Cape Coast, to Ghana, and to the broader African academic community. May this conference stimulate fruitful discussions, strengthen scholarly collaborations, and generate practical recommendations that will contribute meaningfully to regional integration and sustainable development in West Africa. I wish to say that, I just end here. I wish all participants a successful and enriching conference. Thank you all for your attention. May God bless you all. God bless the University of Cape Coast. God bless our homeland, Ghana. And this signed off by Sir Dr. Sam E. Jonah, the Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, the Acting Vice Chancellor, University of Cape Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the point where we'll listen to our keynote address. Permit me to introduce our keynoter. He is the Registrar of Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in Nigeria. He's a former Vice Chancellor, University of Ilorin, former President, Association of African Universities, and former Chairman Committee of Vice Chancellors, Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, and Secretary General of Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. Our keynoter is a multi-talented scholar of Islamics who has to his credit more than 100 publications in reputable outlets across the globe. He has demonstrated through his turnaround management of the University of Ilorin from 2007 to 2012 and JAM from 2016 to date what academics, if given the opportunity, can do in improving the lot of a nation. An appreciative Nigerian nation has bestowed many high-profile honors and awards on him. These include Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic in 2014, National Productivity Order of Merit in 2019, Commander of the Order of the Niger in 2022, and Nigeria Excellence Award in Public Service, Distinguished Award for Education in 2022. He is also a recipient of numerous special awards from diverse major interest groups and institutions across all strata of the society. The National Executive Council of the Nigerian Association of Christian Journalists honored him with the Integrity Public Servant Personality of the Year in 2021. In February 2023, he was presented with an Icon of Education Transformation and Peace Award and was also made a live member of the National Association of Nigerian Students Hall of Fame. TAF Africa honored him for his outstanding commitment to the education, of people with disabilities in Nigeria, and that was in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynoter is Professor Ishak Oloyede. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. The applause can still keep coming as he makes his way to the lectern.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, Professor Chair, I hope I will not disappoint you because I'm in Ghana. Ghana is just like Nigeria. They are brothers. And so I'm here and I'm happy I'm here. But I will say that I was following the program and I was not the next on the program. When the Vice Chancellor was talking, I thought it would be rude to go to the washroom. So I felt I should listen to him. When looking at the program, I saw that there is going to be an entertainment before I will be called. So I felt that when the Vice Chancellor finishes, I will go out, do my washing, and come. So I still believe that the program is on. Just give me 2 minutes and I will be back.
On that note, I would invite the Dagari Cultural Troupe to help us. Do we have the Dagari group here? So the Dagari group, please. Okay. Can we have some music? Yes. The Dabire group. I hear the dance is the Bewa dance. Right. So let's welcome our keynoter, Professor Oloyede.
Thank you very much. Professor Chair, I learned that today because I would just have said Mr. Chairman, but in Ghana now, I know you must add the Professor Chair. Let me stand on, by, and with all established protocols. Just because of time and the fact that a lot had been said and done this morning, I believe going through the protocols, I may miss them up. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. But before doing that, I must say again, the Professor Chair, Professor Obeng, who I believe is one of the ancestors of this university, who was my teacher, my mentor, my friend at the University of Ilorin, who is a unifier, who has established, who introduced me to my brother Kuupole, and who is a nation builder, a bridge builder, somebody who I respect so much. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for being what you are, and it's a pleasure to learn that you are the chairman of this occasion. Professor Emmanuel, I learned here too, the one we have not been adding in Nigeria, Reverend Professor Emmanuel Ado Obeng. I respect you and I pay respect to you.
The Vice Chancellor of this great university, I thank you. The Provost of the College of Humanities and Legal Studies, the Dean of Arts, and particularly the head of Department of French of this great university, UCC. You have done very well by organizing this conference in honor of Didi Kuupole. I had planned to read my address, but I will not read. I will just speak to the address as much as possible. It is a profound honor for me to be before the distinguished gathering at this university, the great University of Cape Coast, for a conference organized in honor of Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole, Professor of French Language and Didactics, former VC of this great university, and a scholar whose influence has extended well beyond Ghana into the wider West African international academic community. The conference has been deliberately designed not merely as an academic event, but also a celebration of scholarly legacy, celebration of mentorship, celebration of leadership, and human impact. This is a noble idea. It is also timely. Again, before I go into this, let me say that the theme of this conference as coexistence of languages in West Africa for sustainable regional integration is precisely declarative, and it is not expected that anybody can say anything outside it, because it does not ask us whether it is appropriate or not, multilingualism is appropriate or not for West Africa. It only says that how do we use it? But I beg to differ. That is why I've chosen multilingualism, a blessing or an albatross to West Africa. I've done this not in defiance of the organizers, but because I believe many people are not yet convinced that multilingualism is a blessing to West Africa. And unless and until many of us believe in that, they will not be interested in what we are saying about utilizing what they do not believe in for the development of West Africa. I am also saying that the organizers of this conference had given objectives, 6 objectives of the conference. They said that, and as keynote speaker, I'm expected to declare or to pronounce some statement about the 6 themes that they have put together. And the 6 themes are: explore the role of language, coexistence, examine patterns of multilingualism in West Africa, analyze language policies and planning strategies in education, assess the role of translation and interpretation in language and in West Africa, honor and reflect on Professor Kuupole. Please, ladies and gentlemen, of all these 6, grant me the indulgence of only addressing one. That is number 6, which focuses on the subject and object of this conference, Didi Kuupole.
I will address the other 5 if you are still interested. At the end of I'm here to say, if you are still interested and I can see that you are not asking me to leave the podium, then I will tell you about the other 5. Didi Kuupole, we call him in Nigeria DDKK. DDKK. Somebody will ask me what is the other K. I've introduced Kola Wole. You know what Kola Wole means in Yoruba land. Somebody who brings good things which is coming. So that's what we name him at the University of Ilorin. Initially, because many people in Ilorin could not pronounce Kuupole properly, they find it easier to call Kola Wole. So that became a substitute. The man in whose honor this academic assembly has been convened, Professor Kuupole, his life tells the story that West Africa ought to cherish. It is the story of a scholar who combined intellectual discipline with educational service. It's a story of a scholar who combines university leadership with public responsibility. A story of a scholar who combines linguistic scholarship with institution building. A scholar whose French and English language teaching, social linguistics, discourse analysis, multilingual education, higher education governance, and regional academic cooperation has left a mark not only in Ghana, but also in West Africa and beyond. His journey has moved from the classroom to faculty leadership, from dean to pro-vice chancellor, from pro-vice chancellor to vice chancellor, and from national service to international academic leadership across the globe. He has chaired and served on important educational bodies, helped shape inter-university cooperation, and remain actively engaged in scholarship, policy, and educational advocacy. A conference in his honor is not ceremonial assembly. It is intellectual justice that must be done. And I'm aware that Nigeria is also planning to honor this Ghanaian Nigerian, Professor D. Kuupole. Please, D. Kuupole, DDKK, accept the noble, well-deserved recognition accorded you by your colleagues and your mentees. Please accept. What makes this occasion even more fitting is that the chosen theme resonates deeply with the scholarly identity, which is a scholarly identity. West Africa is one of the most linguistically diverse regions in the world. This complex linguistic setting, as already noted by the organizers of this conference, is at once a resource and a challenge for communication, education, governance, economic cooperation, and regional integration. The theme is both accurate and intellectually fertile. It places before us one of the defining questions of our region and the future of this region. How do we understand multilingualism in West Africa? As a blessing, as a burden, as a cultural wealth, as administrative difficulty, as the foundation of inclusion, or the source of fragmentation? Answers to these questions lie at the heart of West Africa past, present, and the future. And therefore, our team, Coexistence of Language in West Africa for Sustainable Regional Integration, is far more than a linguistic inquiry. It is a historical challenge, a political reality, an educational imperative, an economic factor, and a civilizational concern. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when I was told to speak, to come here as a keynote speaker, I quickly jumped on it for so many reasons. It has always been a pleasure for me to come to Ghana at any time, particularly to Cape Coast. So any excuse to come, I will pick. Because all those people that I've known from Cape Coast, they are very fantastic human beings. I was in the same department with Reverend Professor Obeng for so many years. For 9 years, 9 good years, we are in the Department of Religions, University of Ilorin. And we were the slaves of the department. Anything that, we had 4 disciplines: Arabic, Islamic studies, Christian studies, and African traditional religion. But anything in the department, we were the slaves of the university. And one happened to be an alumnus of University of Cape Coast, and I was also an alumnus of the University of Ilorin. And you can now see how God had decreed it. He later became the first alumnus to be the VC of UCC, while I became the first alumnus to become the VC of the University of Ilorin. So that's one of the reasons why I have to come. The second one is Kuupole himself. In fact, I love coming to Ghana to an extent that there was the rumor that I have some investment in Ghana, that I used to go quickly to go and supervise. The only investment I would have had in Ghana, Professor Obeng did not allow me to have that for fear of my wife. I wanted a second wife. He didn't. He was so afraid of my wife that he refused to get me a wife here. Now, when we talk about the topic, many people believe, and they are not totally wrong, they are probably influenced by the biblical issue about languages. You can remember the issue, I think that's Genesis 9 verses 1 to, Genesis 11 verses 1 to 9, talking about the Tower of Babel, that people were planning coup, and God put something on them. That's why we have multilingualism. It may be so. I mean that the fear, but I also know that theology has shown us clearly the reason that it is essential for development to have many languages. That is very clear, in addition to many other things. And because I'm a student of Islam, the Quran is also clear about it, that God had created so many languages for you, for identity and development purposes, not for diversionary or divisional reasons. I'm asking here, when the question is asked, my own answer, plainly put, is that multilingualism is fundamentally a blessing, yet it can become an albatross when it is poorly governed, superficially understood, or cynically instrumentalized. Multilingualism itself is not our problem. The real challenge lies in our failure to build institutions, educational system, translational translation cultures, and regional habits strong enough to carry linguistic diversity productively. That is where our problems lies. I therefore want to identify here the problems of multilingualism. And this I want to do by stating as follows. I want to give us 5 problems, 5 blessings, 3 setbacks, 7 recommendations, and then I will come back, if time allows, about to the 5 keynote speeches that I have not given. Problems of multilingualism. Number 1. The danger is not that West Africa speaks many languages. The danger is that our political imagination has too often been narrower than our linguistic reality. Put differently, the problem is less multilingualism than monolingual governance in multilingual societies. What I mean by that is that the lesson from multilingualism is not just, language is not just about language, and that's the life of Kuupole. Many people think language is just what we are saying. Language is beyond that. Language is an instrument of social engineering, of societal development. It is more than just what you speak. It influences a lot of other things. But what happens is that we have many languages, but the governance in West Africa is narrower. It's not even speaking one language properly. But where institutions are imaginative, multilingualism is transformed into an instrument of access, mobility, innovation, and peace. That is the thesis I'm promoting today. That multilingualism, wisely governed, is not a liability but a foundation for integration and progress. To understand this, we need to realize that there are many languages in Africa. In Africa, according to UNESCO, we have between 1,500 and 3,000 languages in Africa. Nigeria alone is said to have about 520, and Ghana has over 80 of such languages. But to live in West Africa, we all know, is to inhabit layered of languages. You have your mother tongue, the mother tongue of home and lineage, the language of the market, the language of religion, the language of the lingua franca, the official language of states, the language of the bureaucracy and diplomacy. So we have all layers that we use language. We just switch from one language. When my brother Jeff was talking here, at a time I didn't know whether he was speaking French or English. He was just switching between English and French. That is West Africa for you. When we do this, we do not codify language. We do not do it formally. We do it naturally. We switch from one language to the other. So the first problem is how we manage that. The second problem that I see for us, the question is not whether Africans are multilingual. They are multilingual naturally. The deeper question is which language are granted authority, legitimacy, literacy, prestige, and institutional force. Much of the post-colonial Africa inherited official language regimes that privilege English, French, or Portuguese, though these were not the mother tongue of the overwhelming majority of the citizens. What we are saying is that the second one is that we have English, French, or Portuguese. It's not the problem. The problem is, what do we do with our African language? We prefer the foreign languages, the English, the French. Permit me, my brother, Professor Kuupole, because I know how much you love French, but you love African language more than the French, whether you say it or not. This inheritance produced a familiar hierarchy. Some languages became languages of power, while some remain languages of intimacy and culture. We now have hierarchy of language. Anybody who can speak English is educated. Anybody who cannot speak English becomes uneducated. That is the second problem that we have. This brings us again to the third problem. This brings us to the familiar geopolitical descriptors of our sub-region. The descriptors of our sub-region as Anglophone, Francophone, and Lusophone. These labels may appear convenient, but they are misleading if allowed to define the deeper reality of West Africa. They refer strictly speaking, to colonial and post-colonial official language alignment. They do not capture the full breadth of the region's multilingualism. So when we are talking of multilingualism and we are talking of West Africa as being Anglophone, Francophone, or Lusophone, you are not telling us the whole story, because we have languages that ought to be developed and are left and relegated, not only by the colonial masters, but even our own leaders in West Africa. Professor Kuupole's scholarly and institutional career is itself a rebuke of such narrow compartmentalization of languages. Here is a scholar of French who became not a prisoner of one linguistic bloc, but a participant in broader West African and international educational cooperation. Here is a linguist whose works belong not to an insulated philological tradition, but to applied language studies, policy reflection, higher education's leadership, and intercultural communication. Here is a former vice chancellor who understood by practice and by example that language scholarship is not a decorative academic pursuit, it is a public good. A peep into the life and works of Kuupole will convince you that his life demonstrates multilingualism, not in the strict sense of language, but in the sense of inclusiveness. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that takes me to another of the problems. I've given you, therefore, three of what I consider as the problem. Another problem that many people may not see as problem, but which I see and I consider as a problem, is number 4. When I use the metaphor of an albatross or a blessing, I'm using it with caution. If multilingualism feels heavy around our neck, it is because we have tied weight to it by ourselves. We have built school system that punish linguistic translation instead of managing it. We have inherited bureaucracies that fear translation because they confuse efficiency with exclusion. We have elevated certain languages far beyond for symbolic prestige without adequately investing in their terminologies. We didn't train teachers. We didn't train interpreters. We didn't invest in language technology. We are only paying lip service to and commitment to our native languages. We have absorbed social attitude that mistake fluency in colonial language for intelligence itself. Because anybody who cannot speak English or French, we believe they are illiterate. Yet, let me be clear to you, and that is what I consider as another problem. I am not saying that multilingualism does not have its problems. There are many problems of multilingualism, many of them. Let me be clear, I do not romanticize multilingualism. There are real setbacks associated with ill-managed linguistic plurality. Translation across many languages imposes financial and administrative costs. But we must have the honesty to admit that there are complications. These costs that we are talking about, what is the alternative that we have? Multilingualism has costs, but the more important question is compared with what? Compared to the domestic cost of exclusion, compared to the educational cost of incomprehension, compared to the social cost of symbolic domination. When framed properly, the cost of multilingual inclusion begins to look less like extravagance and more like the price of justice. We talk about European Union and so on, what they did with multilingualism. They do not have one language in Europe, and you see what they are doing with their language. What they are doing with all the languages of Europe, they are developing them. But what are we doing with our own? And this brings me to another distinction critical for our discussion at this conference: the difference between spoken languages and written languages in Africa. We have been made to believe that our languages are not written. They are mere spoken languages. It is not true. It is not part of, and it has become part of us because we have internalized it and we have been made to believe this is not so. If you study history of languages, you will know that there are many ways that our African languages have been committed to writing, including the Ajami script, that people can speak, can write in Hausa, can write in any language, and they will write with the scripts, Arabic scripts. In most of the cases, that's what is called Ajami. But they are speaking or writing in the native language. This is very important to us. And to me, I believe that if all of us decide to face what the problems are, the identified problems, we will see that multilingualism is a blessing to West Africa. Then I move to the other side of it. If we say multilingualism is a blessing, which type of blessing? If multilingualism is to be understood as blessing, then we must ask where exactly the blessing lies. I will identify 5 of such dimensions. The first one is cultural. Languages are archives of memory. Within them are shared proverbs, ecological knowledge, kinship concepts, ethical categories, oral history, jurisprudential reasoning, ritual vocabulary, poetic sensibilities, and ways of seeing the world that cannot always be properly translated. There are certain things in your language that if you say it, you will not be able, no matter how good you are in English or French, you will not be able to translate them properly because they convey something that other language may not be able. That is what I call the cultural one. The second one is cognitive and educational. Why multilingualism is a blessing to West Africa. A child who begins learning in a language already known is not beginning from zero. This child is beginning from comprehension, is beginning with confidence and with familiarity, and he will be able to do better than somebody who had to grapple with the language of the teacher before understanding what the teacher will have to say. So there is also the educational, the cognitive and the educational aspect. The third dimension is economic. Regional integration depends not only on tariffs, not only on protocols, and not only on custom regime, but also on intelligibility. Trade is a linguistic act as much as a material one. Trust is built with your partner, with your customer, through communication. The movement of traders, transporters, artisans, students, clerics, entrepreneurs across West Africa require multilingual competencies, whether formal or informal. How do you relate with somebody in Republic of Benin? How do you relate with somebody in Ghana, with Cote d'Ivoire? All these are to get the economic value. You also find language as one of, go to our markets, particularly at the border towns, and you will see switching of language, how people are using language to get, it's not just the economy. Without the language of communication, some of these traits will not be able to, will not come into effect. Another one is, and this I find is very important to me, is political and democratic. One of the most persuasive claims in the European discourse on multilingualism is that linguistic inclusion sustains democracy, transparency, and accountability. That insight is not uniquely European. It is universally relevant. In West Africa, for example, if electoral information, health advisories, legal rights, agricultural extension messages, security notices, or regional mobility protocol remain inaccessible in the language of the people, then who are we communicating with? When our government will just issue their laws, their acts, their protocols in English language, and you think they are communicating. They are not communicating because majority of the people they are governing may not be able to get what they are saying, and that creates a gap between government and the governed. Because our people, they sweat. The government sweats thinking that they are communicating, but they are communicating nothing. Because majority of the people do not understand what they do. But they clap for them. They clap for them, just leave the stage and let us go. Not because they understand what they are saying. And the fifth dimension is intellectual. I say this with some personal concern as a student of humanities and of African and Islamic knowledge tradition, that language determines not only who speaks, but what can be said. What counts as citation and what kind of knowledge enter formal circulation. If scholarship in West Africa remains overwhelmingly dependent on colonial languages alone, then large bodies of indigenous reasoning, oral archive, Quranic commentary, customary jurisprudence, local historiography, proverbs, wisdom, community memories risk being marginalized, because we will not be able to store those things, because our languages are the storage, the archive of those things. But as I have said, if these are the blessings, what are the setbacks? And that is where the problems are. What are the setbacks? What are those things that will make us not to believe or not to realize that multilingualism is a blessing to us? Number one, if we are honest, there are formidable setbacks before us. One of the most persistent problems we have is the colonial compartmentalization of West Africa into Anglophone, Francophone, and Lusophone blocks. These are not merely linguistic labels. They encode divergent legal traditions, educational pathways, bureaucratic habits, and external alignments. They affect our curricula, they affect our diplomacy, they affect our media flow, and even scholarly citation networks. Because these colonial afterlives, this type of colonial compartmentalization may be more institutionally familiar. A scholar from, say, Ghana, you will find him more familiar with what goes on in Britain than what goes on in Ghana, where he's coming from, because we are seen just as Francophone, Lusophone, and Anglophone. This should not be so. This is why regional integration in West Africa requires more than celebrative rhetoric about diversity. It requires deliberate dismantling of the barriers produced by inherited language blocks. To move beyond colonial compartmentalization is not simply to multiply languages. It is to reimagine the architecture of cooperation, to build bridges across inherited divides, and to recover the deeper multilingual pragmatism that has always sustained our societies. When you look at the life of Kuupole, you will understand better what I'm saying. This is somebody who comes from a village, and he goes back to that village to make some impact on that society. Here is somebody who has gone to become a vice chancellor of not just a university, but University of Cape Coast. And yet, when he relates with you, he relates with humility. What we are saying is that it's part of language, if properly understood, that you know that language itself is to be used to develop the society. It's an instrument, just as ICT, for living. And that's what is it? When people were talking about Professor Kuupole, I know him for 4 things. And they are related to this item that I'm talking about. 1, he has a good mixture of passion and firmness. He can be very loving, but he can be very firm. He's not indulgent at all. When he tells you, when he's playing with you because you deserve to be played with. When you need to see the other side of him, you will see it, and he will be very firm about it. That is one of the lessons that languages properly understood should play. Another one that I know about him is integrity.
faithfulness. That is, what you would not want to be seen doing, do not do it at all. Is somebody. The third one is loyalty. When he believes in a cause, is loyal to that cause, to a fault. And the other one is dedication. Dedication. Is dedicated to the work he's doing. The second setback is that we have hierarchy. In many African settings, fluency in official colonial language continues to function as a marker of class, refinement, employability, and authority. This should not be so. That's another problem that we have, that we believe anybody who can speak English is intelligent. Anybody who cannot speak English is stupid. That cannot be. The third one is that we have a lot of policy inconsistency. Our government pays lip service to development of our languages, but they do not commit themselves to it. Many of our languages are not developed. And that takes me to my recommendations, as I've said. I said I have 7 of them. We can widen interpretation in many regional fora, support cross-border language learning, invest in translation infrastructure, and recognize regional lingua franca more intentionally in trade, in education, and in the media. That is the first recommendation. Oh, Ima, I ask you to give me something that I want to show you. Many people that multilingualism is a problem, and it costs, they give us statistics of what Euros spend on translation and so on. Look, this is a translator with AI today. It can translate as I'm speaking English. If you have it and you take it and you tune it in to Arabic, it will be translating, not only translating, but will be writing for you on your phone what I'm saying in Arabic. If you speak, you are speaking French, it will do that automatically. Just put it on you, set it on your phone, and it does all the translation in 100 languages of the world. And how much is it? $10. Oh, $100. Sorry. $100. I've brought 2 or 3 of them, and I'm going to donate them to the Department of French. It's not a lot of money. HOD, you can have it. So this is, as you speak, 100 languages. I've tested it. I put this on. When I bought it from UK, I then decided to open this and to utilize it, set it up. As you are speaking 100 languages, any language, as you are speaking it, it's translating, you are hearing it, and it's also writing it on your phone in case of doubt. But here is the problem. Only Hausa is an African language among the 100. Thank you. So that tells you clearly that what we are saying is that we are paying lip services to our African languages. And when you see there, in one of the write-up, they gave the reasons why they are limited in African languages. Because the languages have not been developed. What our governments need to do about our languages, they have not done so. And that is why when the whole world will not wait for us. The whole world will move forward as they go forward. And our languages are not included in what they... I wanted to utilize, I thought, this could be very useful. In many mosques in Nigeria, they preach in Arabic. And the audience will not understand what the people are saying. So I felt that one of the things I could do was to buy this and distribute to mosques, that when the imam is talking, you just buy one. It's just $100. Put it on. You will be hearing what the man is saying. But alas, only Hausa is there. There is no Yoruba, there is no Igbo, there is English again.
So, and most of the people, many of the people may not understand English. So this is the reason why we must develop our African languages. Number two, so what I'm saying about that, the cost of interpretation and translation has gone down drastically. We cannot benefit from it simply because we did not do what we were supposed to do at the right time. Number two, what then would the West African model be? What is the African model? What I recommend as African model for languages? I recommend 3 layers. 1, local and mother tongue. This remains foundational for identity, for memory, for early education, and community participation. They are the languages of belonging and integrational transmission. They must be deliberately developed. You cannot develop English, French, or any other foreign language without developing them. We are doing nothing because they are the foundation of our languages and communication. Number 2, regional and national lingua franca. All these Hausa, Yoruba, Pola, all these languages you have, they are, including Pidgin, they are transborder languages involving particularly Ghana and our neighbors, such as Dagara, Akan, Ewe, Kazim, Bisa, etc. All these must also be developed for the purpose of transborder trade. We are not against the 3rd layer, which is official international languages, English, French, Portuguese, and so on. We are saying that we should not believe that those languages will take us to the promised land without developing the 2 other layers of languages. The 3rd one of my recommendation is that we need our local languages to be taken seriously because it's the language that we will use for education. And we must develop them in such a way that we can use them, we can develop our curricula in these languages, and we will make better educational advancement if we promote our own languages. Then, number 4, the media. The media and the digital sphere must also be reimagined. Linguistic coexistence today is not only about classroom and ministry, it is about radio, television, and social media. We must use our local languages. We must promote them in the media, utilize them for communication so as to build the gap between governance and the government, the governors and the governed. Number 5, religious and cultural institutions also have an important role to play. In West Africa, faith communities have often been among the most durable custodians of multilingual practice. Islamic learning, in particular, has historically inhabited layered of linguistic world involving Arabic, Ajami, and local vernaculars, while Christian missions also contributed significantly to vernacular literacy and translation in many settings. We must do that. Again, I repeat, is multilingualism a blessing or an albatross to West Africa? I will now answer more fully. It is a blessing in its anthropological depth, cultural memory, educational potential, economic usefulness, democratic promise, and intellectual richness. It becomes an albatross only when language is reduced to colonial inheritance, when policy remains trapped in prestige hierarchies, when schools force children into incomprehensive media too early, when the official languages became the gatekeeper of citizenship, and when institutions failed to invest in translation, in pedagogy, and linguistic justice. The burden then is not multilingualism. The burden is our refusal to plan for multilingualism. I take you to the fourth one. And the fourth one to me is intentional. For sustainable regional integration in West Africa, we must therefore move from passive multilingualism to intentional multilingualism. We should not take multilingualism for granted. We must invest intentionally. Intentional multilingualism will mean recognizing linguistic diversity as a strategy. It will mean building regional translation culture. It will mean rewarding cross-border language competence. It will mean giving serious place to major African lingua francas in media, in commerce, and in regional dialogue. It will mean protecting minority languages from erasure, while also supporting wider communication across border. It will mean acknowledging the languages of the countries of West Africa, including Arabic and Ajami tradition, where historically they are relevant and we use them. We should not see them as relics. We must promote them. And that takes me to the next one, the future of West Africa. The future of West Africa will not be built by economics alone, nor by military pacts alone, nor by summit declaration alone. It will be built by whether our people can meet each other in intelligible, dignified, and mutually respectful ways. Language is central to that encounter. Regional integration without linguistic imagination will remain thin, elite, and reversible. But regional integration that honors our plurality of West Africa voices may just become humane, democratic, and durable. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that takes me to the key notes, and I want to pronounce them as follows. 1. In West Africa, language coexistence through multilingual policies, cross-border linguistic practice, and the use of both local and official languages fosters sustainable regional integration by ensuring communication, trust, and cooperation across diverse communities and sectors. Number 2, in West Africa, intense multilingualism creates lingua francas of Hausa, Pidgin, English, Douala, structural convergence across unrelated languages, and creoles like Creole with colonial languages, with English or with French, functioning as official diglosic partners, while Arabic influences them through trade and religion. Number 3, West African education policies largely prioritize former colonial languages of English, French, and Portuguese as official mediums of instruction. In contrast, national languages are relegated to early primary or oral use only, creating a persistent diaglosic gap that hinders literacy, access, and pedagogical effectiveness for most learners. There is need for a rethink. Number 4, in cross-border cooperation in West Africa, translation supports written exchanges. Interpretation enables real-time and oral communication, and language mediation fosters mutual understanding and conflict resolution across diverse local and official languages. And number 5, promoting interdisciplinary dialogue on language identity, mobility, and development in West Africa requires structural modalities such as joint research, forum, policy workshop, cross-sectoral platform that integrate social linguistics, migration studies, and developmental economics to address multilingual realities and border dynamics. I conclude then, ladies and gentlemen, that multilingualism is not West Africa's cause. It is one of its greatest endowments. Take note of that. Multilingualism is not a cost to Africa. It's one of its greatest endowments. Emma, can I seize this opportunity of the microphone to also invite all those people who are Ilorin and Ilorin related to please come to the platform. Professor Ben, you are number 1. Kuupole, you are number 2. BC Ilorin, you are there. Oh yeah, bring it. BC Ilorin, you are there. Oh yeah, come. Oh, and all the directors from JAM, please join us. Okay, the French. The directors from JAM, we are 6 of us came from JAM. BC, please. BC, join us because we are on your land. All of us to this side. Professor Kuupole on the other side. And the BC. No, you are on our side. No, you can't be there. So, on behalf of JAM Nigeria, we present this on your birthday. Happy birthday. Yes. Oh. Let me conclude. Our task is not to mourn plurality, but to organize it. Not to fear difference, but to translate it. Not to flatten our voices into one approved tongue, but to build a regional order in which many languages may coexist without mutual cancellation. When that happens, multilingualism will no longer appear as an albatross hanging upon the neck of West Africa. It will be seen for what it is, a blessing, awaiting wise stewardship. Thank you very much.
I believe we can applaud our keynoter, our celebrant, and other guests who joined in. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gradually inching to the point where we're going to have a message from the celebrant and then a book launch. However, at this point, we'll take a poetry recital. But before the poetry recital, I would invite Professor Kuupole. There's a presentation to be made to our keynote speaker. Let's welcome Professor Kuupole back on the stage.
Professor Chair, as I climb the podium once again, I would like to sincerely thank Professor Oloyede for graciously accepting to travel down to help us to celebrate our mentor. The unique thing that always strikes me about Professor Oloyede is that tall as he is, it is easier for him to pick things from the floor than to pick it from the top. It is a way of saying that he's just a reflection of Professor Kuupole in terms of humility and service to humanity. When we started preparing for this conference, as you all know, we have challenges, financial challenges, putting things together. And they were thinking of how to bring him down. Looking at where he is, how can our hands reach him? And ask him to come down. And along the line, I need to use some diplomacy and ask for some interventions that it will be difficult for us to fly him here. So what can he do? We want him here. Then we will be able to provide at least a place for him to lay his head. If he gets here, could he buy his own ticket and come down? The response was no problem. And surprisingly, Prof comes here. He didn't come alone. As a way of supporting our wedding cause, he brought 5 staff of his at their own cost and made them, even though they are not coming to present any paper, to pay the participation fee to support the conference. In addition to that, he has made some presentation to the department. Those gadgets, I don't think with our FUF, you will be able to buy even one as at now. And he has given us 4. In addition to that, he has printed copies of the keynote address, 500 copies to support the conference. He has encouraged us to find a price to put on it, and whatever money we raise from it, we equally go to support the conference. In a very little way, we want to acknowledge him. Prof, please come on stage. As a department, Professor, yeah. As earlier indicated, we have among us one of the patriarchs, one of the ancestors of this university, Professor Domwin. Prof has always been an inspiration for all of us. Busy as he is, we call upon him to come and chair this function for us. He agreed, came down from Kumasi, and he was here early this morning to support us as young ones to grow in their footsteps. Prof, as a token of appreciation, we have something small to present you. Please come on stage. Thank you very much for enjoying us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mawuloi Koda. I would invite the French Club to help us with a poetry recital. I understand this is written by the head of the Department of French, Professor Mawuloi Koda. Let's welcome them with a round of applause, please. Please note, however, that the printed address by our keynoter can be accessed at the registration desk at a cost of 30 Ghana cedis to support the conference. Thank you.
Le tam-tam m'appelait, me voici. J'attendis l'appel du tam-tam et je m'avance devant vous. Tam-tam résonne, la parole prend la vie. Je m'appelle Bénicia Indos. Poème en hommage de par Professeur Kuupole. Le poème est titulé Dabire Kuupole, le lion à l'âme de colombe. Dabire Kuupole, le lion à l'âme de colombe. Des de Nandom. S'est levé un lion au cœur des colombes de Nandom. S'est levé un lion au cœur des colombes de Nandom. Un homme dont le rugissement était sagesse et dont le silence était humilité. Il n'est pas entré dans la grandeur avec le tonnerre des conquêtes. Il est entré doucement, portant des livres plutôt que des épées, des idées plutôt que l'orgueil. Et la certitude tranquille que le savoir sert le mieux l'humanité lorsqu'il est enveloppé de grâce. Oh, Kuupole, dans les amphithéâtres où les esprits étaient encore agiles, tu façonnais les pensées sans briser l'esprit. Tu corrigeais le rêve sans humilier l'apprenant. Et tu semais des grains de courage dans le cœur d'étudiants qui deviendraient un jour eux-mêmes des savants. Beaucoup ne se souviennent pas des titres que tu as portés, mais de la chaleur de tes conseils. Car dans le couloir de l'université, tu étais plus qu'un professeur. Tu étais une boussole pour les égarer. Une oreille patiente pour les rêves anxieux. Une voix paternelle disant, continue, le chemin du savoir est long, mais il livre sa moisson aux patients. Lorsque le leadership t'a appelé, tu as répondu, non par ambition, mais par responsabilité. Dans les meilleures architectes de l'institution, tu as tenu fermement la barre, guidant le grand navire du savoir, avec le calme de celui qui sait que les institutions comme les jardins ne prospèrent que lorsqu'elles sont arrosées d'intégrité. Ainsi, le savant devient gardien, l'enseignant devient bâtisseur et le penseur discret devient le dépositaire digne de confiance de nombreux destins académiques. Pourtant, si le même esprit demeurait le même esprit d'eau, le lion qui ne dévore pas ceux qui marchent à ses côtés, mais qui les protège. Car le pouvoir qui oublie l'humanité n'est qu'un esprit sans harmonie, mais la sagesse qui s'incline devant l'humanité devient musique dans la mémoire des générations. 70 saisons déjà ont tourné sur la terre, mais tes empreintes brillent encore sur les chemins du savoir. Les étudiants portent tes leçons comme des pluies dans la nuit. Les collègues se souviennent de ton équité comme d'une pluie sur un sol fatigué. Et les jeunes chercheurs marchent plus fièrement parce que ton ombre a autrefois abrité les débuts incertaines. Oh, Kuupole, l'âme de lion aux colombes de Nandom, que les vents du temps continuent de chanter tes victoires silencieuses, car la grandeur ne crie pas toujours. Parfois, elle murmure doucement à travers des vies transformées. Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons non seulement des années, mais une moisson d'influence, des esprits éveillés, des carrières nourries et une université fortifiée la sagesse constante d'un géant humble. Alors, les voix de la gratitude s'élèvent. Alors que les voix de la gratitude s'élèvent et que cet hommage s'envole dans le ciel. Et que cet hommage s'envole comme une colombe dans le ciel de la mémoire. Professeur Dabire Kuupole, lion de l'intellect, colombe d'esprit, mentor des générations, père de nombreux parcours académiques. À 170 ans, ton héritage marche devant toi comme une aurore qui refuse de s'éteindre. Merci.
A poem in honor of Professor D.D. Kuupole, written by Professor M.K. Koda, entitled D.D. Kuupole, Thou Spirited Lion of Nandom. From the quiet soils of Nandom rose a lion with the heart of a dove, a man whose roar was wisdom and whose silence was humility. He did not stride into greatness. He walked into it gently, carrying books instead of swords, ideas instead of pride, and in the calm assurance that knowledge serves humanity best when wrapped in grace. Oh, Kuupole, in lecture halls where minds were clay, your words were careful sculptures. You shaped thoughts without breaking the spirit, corrected error without humiliating the learner, and planted seeds of courage in the timid hearts of students who will one day become scholars themselves. Many remember not the titles you bore, but the warmth of your counsel. For in the corridors of the university, you were more than a professor. You were a compass for the lost, a patient listener to anxious dreams, a fatherly voice saying, walk on. The road of knowledge is long, but it yields its fruit to the patient. When leadership called, you answered not with ambition, but with responsibility. In the stormy seas of administration, you held the hand steady, steering the great ship of learning. With the calm of the one who knew that institutions, like gardens, flourish only when watered with integrity. Thus, the scholar became a steward, the teacher became a builder, and the quiet thinker became the trusted custodian of many academic destinies. Yet beneath the dignities of office remained the same gentle spirit. The lion who never devoured those who walked around him, but guarded them. A lion in intellect, a dove in temperament. Such paradox is a true architecture of greatness. For power that forgets humility is noise without harmony. But wisdom that bows to humanity becomes music in the memory of generations. Seasons now have turned upon the earth, and still your footprint shines upon the path of learning. Students carry your lessons like lamps in the night. Colleagues recall your fairness like rain upon tired soil. And the young scholars walk taller because your shadows once sheltered the uncertain beginnings. O thou spirited lion of Nandom, may the rings of time continue to sing your greatness. For greatness does not always shout. Sometimes it will whisper gently through lives transformed. Today, we celebrate not merely years, but the harvest of influenced minds awakened, careers nurtured, and the university strengthened by the steady wisdom of a humble giant. Therefore rise, voices of gratitude, and let this tribute fly like dove across the sky of memory. Professor Dabire Kuupole, lion in intellect, dove of spirit, father of generations, father of many academic journeys. At 70, your legacy walk ahead of you like a sunrise that refuses to fade. Thank you.
We can be a bit more generous and kind with our applause. This is indeed an exceptional day because in all of my life, this is the first time I've seen the talking drum do French. It must be an exciting one for all of us to witness. Right. And so at this point, we will take a message from the project coordinator for Professor Kuupole's autobiography. I would invite Dr. Charles Prempeh, coming from KNUST. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Let's be generous with our applause. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I think the protocol has already been established. On my way from Kumasi this morning, while in the trotro or the bus, I scripted my speech. But I think a lot has been said already, so I'll summarize basically what the book is about. So in March 2025, I had a call from a senior colleague from this university, because I'm a product of this university, having left about 18 years ago. And he said there's a project that I need to get involved. And I asked what the project was about. It's about Professor Kuupole. And I said, wow, that's a good one. And because he knows I love biographical works, he thought I'll be the best person to take up the project. And I did indeed. So we started. But then when we started, I had a question in mind, indeed, which had been asked by a prominent Ghanaian legal practitioner, Joe Appiah. He writes his autobiography and asked a question at the end of it: is Ghana worth dying for? But more than that, there are many ways of writing about ourselves. The late Mr. Ebo Daniel says that you can simplify biography as he was born, he lived, and now he's dead. But that in itself will not tell the human story, because the human being lives in a constant state of liminality. Between the womb and the tomb is where life actually dwells. And the human being at the same time is a composite of being a public figure and a private figure as well. Both realms are imbued with their own challenges. In the public domain, two things run public governance: money and power. These two things are necessarily limited in supply. And because of that, they naturally induce tension, conflict, and competition in the public realm. Back at home, there is also the challenge of love being taken for granted, which is called mimetic desire. So siblings want to be like one or each other. They want to share attributes, even though they may be different. So however we look at life, life is very complex. And if you see a figure such as Professor Kuupole, he's gone through quite a lot already. So today we've gathered to celebrate him. But we are celebrating him not necessarily because of his achievement, but to resolve a question that Hegel once actually put in a statement, that one thing we've learned from history is that we never learn from history. And so that in itself is a quagmire. It is an axiom. It is a jinx that needs to be broken, especially in our public institutions. The question then is, how do we go possibly or potentially breaking that quagmire, that puzzle, to ensure that public governance becomes the space indeed where human flourishing can be consolidated so that ethical and ontological boundaries will be protected in honor of God and humanity. Having said this, what is the book about? This book is unique in many ways. As I said, I've spent about 15 years working on biographies, and this is exceptionally the only biography that carries plurality of voices. With his wife here writing a chapter, right, as part of the book. And the reason that is important because, you see, in the public, we all look good. We all dress up. You know, no one comes out when they are sick. But home is where life belongs. And so it is quite refreshing to read how his wife of a little, almost 50 years, has gone through the tapestries of life, both lows and highs, to enable him manage life in the public. That is point number one about the uniqueness of the book. And then two, because he himself has been in this university since the late 1970s, this book comes across as an embodiment of memories. Because there's a bigger question that we must all answer when I'm no more, who will remember me? And to be remembered basically implies that every facet of our being, our relationality are brought together. And you find that in this book. Finally, Ghana, Africa, as a nation, has embarked on development that appears like running on a treadmill race. Meanwhile, we are told there's nothing new under the sun. That, from the historiographical perspective, simply means that life has patterns and paradigms. There's nothing new. And therefore, it is important that if I am young, I'm in my early 40s, if I want to know what a 70 years person knows today and how he has survived the vicissitudes of life, all it takes for me is to read his works and to benefit from the sagacity that he has accumulated over the years he's lived under the sun. For this reason, this book that will be launched duly soon, to be very honest with you, carries a memory. It carries a memory of an individual's life, a memory of an institution, multiple relations, both within and translocal. It is therefore important that we read it. So having said this, I would like to thank those who have supported me in putting this project together so far. When I was here as a student, from 2004 to 2008, Professor Domwin was then the Vice Chancellor. And at that time, almost everybody, all of us wanted to speak like him, by the powers in me vested. So, Prof, thank you very much when you were the Vice Chancellor. And then, just when I came, I met one Mr. Farouk, 23 years ago. It was through his counseling that I got into the study of African studies as part of the second group of pioneers for that program, of which, by grace, I graduated from Presidential First Class. Then I would like to also thank Professor Alfredina Kuupole. I call her the one who carries the genealogical memory chip of Prof's family's life. Everything about Prof, she is the best person who knows it. So, Prof, thank you very much. I leaned on her genealogical knowledge about the family to put this book together. I also thank friends, Professor Gallion, and many others. If Prof is here, maybe others may want to know. Yeah, Prof, thank you very much. She offered critical editorial service in ensuring that the book came out as a quasi-scholarly and non-scholarly text that will meet the reach of all audience or readership. Then I also want to thank Professor Dabire Kuupole, who invited me to pioneer or to lead this project. I thank the publisher, Whaley Publishing Service, who has been in the industry for more than 40 years, known for quality works. I thank the University of Cape Coast Press, that expressed initial interest in printing the book for us. I thank Dr. D'Souza. He's been very supportive. Whenever I called on him, he responded. So, Doc, thank you very much. And to all of you, thank you for supporting this conference. And when the book is launched, I will encourage each and every one of you to get a copy at a price that is quite generous, because it has cost this retired professor a fortune, not less than 50,000 Ghana cedis to put this book together. And it's a huge document. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm grateful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles Prempeh. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to listen to the man, Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole. Let's welcome him with a resounding round of applause. I believe it's fair we rise to our feet and accord him that respect. Kindly be generous with the applause as he comes to the microphone.
Thank you very much for the honor. Please take your seat. And thank you very much, Akusu. I call my daughter. Well, coming also from Kwara State, I want to stand by the protocol already established and congratulate everybody for being here, all because of this tiny man. My mother once told me when we were driving her back home after my investiture, she said, so because of you tiny people, boy, all those people were there. I said, ma, you calling me a tiny boy? She said, of course, yes. But I said, I take care of you. She said, no, but you are still a child. So nevertheless, a parent is always a parent. So I don't have much to say. Dr. Prempeh has said the essential. But what I want to say is that to rather thank all those who helped to put this document together, all those who helped to put this conference together. And the theme is coming out of the theme of a conference I initiated with my Burkinabe colleague. Le professeur Napon, il est là? That's him, coming from Université Kizerbo, Joseph Kizerbo, Ouagadougou. Merci beaucoup. And we also roped in, and we had another colleague from Ghana here who helped us to build and sustain the conference. Professor Dominic Amuzu, University of Education. Thank you very much. And there are so many other colleagues, and I'm particularly grateful to the members and staff and the HOD of the Department of French. You know, as he said, almost everybody in that department who is a senior member passed through these hands. And so, for people, for colleagues who have been your students, sat in front of you, who now decide to put together something in your honor, in fact, I'm indeed overwhelmed. Very much overwhelmed. See, so, all those who've come from far and near, I have a very good friend from Nandom who wants to be our next MP. Is he here, Alois? Yes. He wants to be our next MP, and we are praying and praying hard for him. He came all the way from Nandom through Accra for this program. There are so many people I have on my list, but I cannot acknowledge everybody. Let me also acknowledge my Vice Chancellor. I have two Vice Chancellors now, so I don't know, plus Dennis. So he's number one. I have Professor Emmanuel Derbile. University of Business and Integrated Development Studies. And I have a third vice chancellor from my second country, Professor Wahab Egbewole, University of Ilori. All these gentlemen, he surprised me. We're communicating, but in fact, this is the first time we are meeting. We have seen each other for the very first time. Meanwhile, we've been talking. I didn't know he was going to come. Only yesterday afternoon, I got a message that he was arriving. We had to quickly mobilize a vehicle to go and pick him at the airport. He arrived at 10 p.m. Can you imagine? So about the book, my trained senior brother, I have not forgotten you. I know you are already, in my life. So, and I don't know if I've inherited the good side of you or the bad side. I'm talking of Reverend Professor Obeng. And Professor Oloyede Ishak, who pulled me to Nigeria for 2-3 years after my service to the University of Cape Coast. I remember in June, even when I still had some months to end, he brought the appointment letter. We went to Abidjan on the second, because I handed over on the 1st of October. Second, I was in Abidjan to hand over the chairmanship of AWAU. I said, "Oh, have you brought your bag? We are taking you to Nigeria straight." I said, "Leave me, oh. I have to go and take permission from the family." And so I did. These are people who have contributed so much in my life. If I've forgotten anybody, it is not, but I'm very much excited. I'm very much overwhelmed. Now, coming to the book, I did not want, when you get to 70, I'm told you live at your own risk. And that is when people now start counting. This man is 70. When is he going to leave this world? They start counting. When is he going? Then they start preparing the tribute. I want to hear my tribute here on earth. I don't want to listen to any tribute when I'm laid in state. No, I don't want to hear any tribute. I want to hear the tribute now. And so that is what has become of this book. Maybe from now till the last day, I may be putting down a few things, but the major thing you need to hear on that last day is in the book. I wanted my story told. And I hear the department has put together a book of tribute also from colleagues. And I think Jeff, we call ourselves Doctor, he has just hinted to that. I alluded to that. So ladies and gentlemen, let me not talk too much. I'm grateful to my family, especially my roommate. Who is the Dr. Prempe calls her the most senior editor, and indeed she has been very much instrumental in that. My adult girls, my adult children, 4 of them are behind mommy. Kumajire, yes. For your support. Can they see you? She's a pharmacist. That's the first handwriting. Dr. Evelyn Kuupole, she's a lecturer at Bolga Technical University. Jane Zepto, she is our madam's niece. She's a teacher at Comenda and a student, master's student in the Department of English. Yes, Bambio, can they see your tiny face? Yeah, Ellen Kuupole, she's a lecturer at the Takrady Technical University and a PhD student at KNUST in fashion. Yeah, fashion design, that's what she's doing. So everybody here is duly acknowledged, including my spiritual director, Father Queenie, and my provost, and Professor Rofela, who I couldn't recognize at the beginning. Then he said, oh, no, but that's Prof. Rofela, the provost of CANS. So let me not continue. Hey, Anyako Fisherman. Professor Edo Toga, appreciate it. Thank you very much. And my neighbor, the key, Professor Mensah, thank you very much to all of you for making time to be here. And finally, my Nigerian ladies and gentlemen who are here. Oh, my head of department, Professor Sani. Oh, yes. My head of department at the University of Illinois. And then the JAM people, they are all here. I worked with I was there for internationalization. 2019, he put together a committee. I served on that committee. We submitted the report on 23rd December. I came back to Ghana and COVID started. So thank you very much. Okay.
So, Prof will be here whilst the family has a presentation to make to him. Would invite the family to come up stage.
Keynote speaker. I think you are wanted up here.
Yes, and then the Vice Chancellor of University of Ilorin as well.
Professor Wahab.
Thank you very much, Akosia. I don't know, I have no words to say because when I got to know Professor Oloyede, I saw in him the Kuupole that I have in Ghana. In fact, it's a man who has adopted, I will say adopted Kuupole as a brother of a different mother. And I'm even more surprised to see the Vice Chancellor that we never met currently to come here. So I don't know what to say because I didn't know I had married a good man.
Oh, hey.
All that has been said about him is overwhelming. At home, he's an embodiment of all that they have said. And that is the reason why I continue to marry him. And I think when I go and come back and he's around, I'll marry him. So, on behalf of the good things you have said about him, and particularly for Professor Oloyede to travel all the way from Nigeria to come here, we cannot leave him to go empty-handed. We have something traditional, but he has to choose his style. If he had chosen his style, our daughter could have made a nice dress for him. But he doesn't have that time. So we will give it to him. He will go and share with his wife. I don't want his roommate to be jealous. And so, being a woman, I want her to be part of it. So here we have something traditional, the cloth.
Thank you very much, Prof. Alfredina Kuupole. So we would now do the book launch, and to help us is the former Pro-Vice Chancellor, University of Cape Coast, Professor Mrs. Rosamond Abuajiwa Bohini. Let's welcome her with a round of applause. Let's do it for her while she comes up to launch the book.
Bonjour tout le monde. I hope I pronounce it well. Ça va très bien, merci beaucoup. Good afternoon. It is a great honor for me to launch this remarkable book, From Crown to Crown, The Journey of the Kuupole, Head Boy, authored by Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole. This is not merely an autobiography. It is a testimony of faith, resilience, discipline, family sacrifice, and public service. The title captures the power of the journey. The crown reminds us of humble beginnings, village life, farming, discipline, and the formative values of Kuupole. The crown speaks of achievement, leadership, scholarship, and service, especially Professor Kuupole's rise to serve as Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. This book teaches us that greatness does not always begin in comfort. It may begin under a tree, in a modest village classroom, in hardship, and in the steady encouragement of family and community. It also reminds the younger generation that education remains one of the strongest instruments of transformation. As I launch this book today, I recommend it to students, academics, leaders, families, and all who believe in the power of perseverance. Let us not only read it, let us support it, share it, and allow its lessons to inspire our own lives and our institutions. It is therefore my pleasure to formally launch From Crown to Crown. And may this book travel far, touch many lives, and remain a lasting contribution to personal, institutional, and national memory. Before I take my seat, when the author introduced the book, he indicated that the prof, I don't want to say the old man, but you are old man. So the old man or the pen, the old boy, and the pen, I will not add the senior because you are still working, has spent a lot of money to produce the book. And therefore we need to show him some love. We are auctioning, we have 60 autograph copies. And because we want to show him love, I want us to support or pledge. If you don't have your money here, don't worry. We will not say for credit come tomorrow. We will say for credit come today. So if you don't even have your money here, we encourage you to pledge towards the support of producing this book. But before I take my seat again, I have the Vice Chancellor of the Cape Coast Technical University. He has promised to buy 10 books. One is 300 cedis. So he has promised to buy 10 books for 3,000 cedis for the library of the Cape Coast University. In addition, he is giving a personal donation of 2,000 cedis. So in total, he has supported with 5,000 cedis. Let's give him a round of applause. And I don't like your applause at all. I said round. No. I said round of applause. Yes, so you do that. Then we also have the provost of the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, who is supporting with $100. And also the college will support with 2,000 cedis. Let's give them a round of applause. Then we have the provost of the College of Health, College of Humanities and Legal Studies, contributing 1,000 cedis towards the support of the book. Let's also give him. So, where are the ushers? Can you give us more copies so that we give it to those who are interested in buying? And can we be fast? Let's be fast. Yes. Those who have your monies here, I don't mind picking them. So if you have your money here, I'm ready to collect it. Yes. So those who want copies, ushers, can you give those who want copies? If you don't have the money, we will write your name. So Provost of Cans has got her $100 here. So who is speaking? Probably D'Souza. Please, can you? Yes. So that is the Provost of Cans. So the Vice Chancellor, our own acting Vice Chancellor, an incoming Vice Chancellor, is giving 10,000 cedis for the book. So he is buying 10 copies for the library. So the Faculty of Arts, can I get someone writing them for me? The Faculty of Arts is also buying 5 for the Faculty of Arts library. So ushers, you have to be very fast and very smart. So those who want copies, those who have their monies here, those who want to pledge, we give them and we write their names. Then later, I think we'll give them a call. Any more pledges or any more support? Yes, we have Prof there. Ushers. Prof is there. The Deputy Director of Drake. Then we have Prof Kofi Awusabu Asari. So please, you can write the names, ushers. Write the names. Yes, there is also another hand up there. So ushers, you have to hurry and you have to be. I hope you are noting the names so that later maybe we contact them and pick the money. So thank you all very much. From here, we will have copies at the Department of French, the General Office. So if you need a copy, you can contact them and pick one. You pay 300 cedis. There is no free lunch anywhere. Even if you go to Freetown, Sierra Leone, and you buy lunch, you have to pay for it. So it's 300 cedis. You get a copy at the the Department, of French at the General Office. So thank you very much for your contributions. So JAM is speaking 10 copies. Thank you very much, Professor.
Please note that here, you can also pick a copy from the registration desk, as earlier indicated. A copy is going for 300 Ghana cedis. Thank you so much, Professor Rosemond Bonhene. Next on our outline is a presentation of the commemorative goodwill message book to Professor Kuupole. And to help us with this, he seems very busy taking his money now. Dr. D'Souza, yeah, he's taking his money, but then you'd have to help us with the presentation of the commemorative goodwill message book.
Good afternoon. Can I invite my HOD to join me for this presentation? Yes, Prof. Edembaka, you can as well join us on the stage. All right, so we are the three sons and mentees of Prof. Kuupole, and it's a privilege for us to do this presentation. Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole, on behalf of the organizing committee, the Department of French, the management of the University of Cape Coast, your colleagues, former students, and mentees, collaborators, friends, associates, community groups, and your beloved family, I have the singular honor and privilege to present to you this commemorative volume of goodwill messages in honor of Professor Domwin Dabire Kuupole at 70. This book is more than a collection of messages. It is a tapestry of gratitude, admiration, memories, and heartfelt tribute from the many individuals and institutions whose lives you have touched through your scholarship, leadership, mentorship, friendship, and service to humanity. Within these pages are reflections from university leaders, academic colleagues, professional associates, former students, development partners, faith communities, friends, and family members who have guided their thoughts to celebrate a life of impact and purpose. Professor, now that you are officially entering a new chapter of life and gradually retiring from active service, we trust that you will finally have enough time to sit back, relax, and carefully read every page of this book, especially those messages that may reveal stories and compliments that your usual modesty would never allow you to hear in person. We only hope that when you do, you will see reflected in these pages the immense respect, affection, and gratitude that surround you today. As we present this volume to you, we thank God for your remarkable journey and for the countless lives you have enriched. May He continue to bless you with good health, wisdom, peace, joy, and renewed strength. May the years ahead be filled with fulfillment, the love of family and friends, and the satisfaction of seeing this enduring fruit of your labor continue to flourish. Happy 70th birthday, Prof. Congratulations, and may God's richest blessing remain with you always. May I invite Prof. Didi Kuupole to join us upstage for the presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, gradually we have come to the close of this session, the opening session of this conference, which is in honor of Professor Kuupole, themed Coexistence of Languages in West Africa for Sustainable Regional Integration. At this point, I'll invite Dr. Christabel Abassam. She'll do us the honors with a vote of thanks. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very honored to be called to give the vote of thanks for this special occasion. We are grateful to the chair and former vice chancellor of our revered university, Professor Emmanuel Addo-Obeng, for accepting to chair and also to remind us of the need to honor our heroes. Thank you very much, sir. The Pro-Vice Chancellor and Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Dennis Aheto, for serving in a dual capacity as special guest and as the guest of honor. Thank you very much. The keynote speaker, Professor Ishak Oluyede, for that passionate delivery on multilingualism and also for the generous contributions made towards the success of this conference. We're grateful to vice chancellors of sister universities present, former pro-vice chancellors, and permit me to be biased to single out Professor Rosemary Abuajiwa-Boini for assisting with the launch of the book. Thank you very much, ma'am. Former registrars, provost of CANS and College of Humanities and Legal Studies, deans, directors present, Department of French, and the MOC for putting together this gracious event. We are also grateful to Dr. Charles Prempe for the sacrifices invested in bringing out the autobiography. Grateful to sponsors, to media, to mentees, and especially to the family of Professor D.D. Kuupole. Thank you so much for keeping him safe for us. We appreciate your effort and sacrifices. We are grateful to everyone gathered here for making this event successful. And very finally, we are grateful to Professor D.D. Kuupole. Thank you for being such a fine gentleman. Lest we wouldn't be here today. So we are grateful. It is our prayer that as you journey to the 8th floor, life will be more rewarding than it is now. Thank you all very much for being here.
All right, let's take the following announcement. It's time for, after the closing prayer, we invite all invited guests to the forecourt of the School of Graduate Studies for a photograph, group photograph with the celebrant. Then you are all invited for lunch. For our dignitaries and invited guests, you have your lunch at the last floor. For senior members and participants, you can go to the registration desk to pick your lunch. But right from lunch, we have the exhibition of Prof. Kuupole's scholarly works at the library, and buses will be available in front of the School of Graduate Studies to pick participants. We have to rush there quickly and come back here for our plenary session before we end the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. D'Souza. We'll take the closing prayer, and this will be said by Reverend Father Mark Quinning. Let's all rise as we receive Reverend Father Quinning to say the closing prayer.
Please, shall we pray? We pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices. All praise and thanks to God the Father now be given, the Son and Spirit blessed, who reign in highest heaven, the one eternal God, whom heaven and earth adore. Almighty and ever-living God, we are grateful unto you for how far you have brought us. We praise and thank you for this opportunity, for celebrating and honoring your son, Professor Kuupole, for his legacies and achievements. We began this program with you because you are the Alpha, and we have to end with you because you are the Omega. We are grateful for having seen us through this program successfully. May we continue to ruminate what we have seen and heard today. As we come to the end of this session, assist us with your Spirit. Grant us your mercies as we depart from here. We are leaving this place, but not your presence. Help us to be good ambassadors of this university, and grant us your wisdom, so that we will be able to accomplish all that you have entrusted unto us. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you.
We shall remain standing as the acting Vice Chancellor and the celebrant, together with other dignitaries, exit the auditorium. Thank you very much. Kindly note there's going to be